Okay, as we get going, Jessica will continue to let people in.
Hmm.
So thank you all for joining us for the September 17th Mobility and Access Coalition meeting. We have a great presentation, or a couple of great presentations today, but let's go ahead and get started. Next slide, please. I know that we're old hats at this point, but just a reminder that when you registered for this meeting, Zoom sent you an invite and you can either open it up in the Zoom app or you can click on join from my browser. Next slide. If you happen to lose internet connection during the meeting, there was also a one-click join the meeting so you can listen into the meeting. Next slide. Just a couple housekeepings. We just ask that everybody mute themselves unless they're speaking. And if you have something to say, go ahead and unmute yourself and just chime in, or you can put it in the chat as well. When you are speaking, we just ask if you can, please turn on your video. It just helps with communication in a virtual landscape. Also, you can see the other participants in this chat by clicking on the participant icon. And then next to the chat, you can go ahead and enter your name and your organization. That'll help us keep track of who's attending the meetings and know what to put in our reporting. So if you could do that right now, just go ahead and click on the chat and enter your name and your organization. That would be great. And just another reminder, we are recording this meeting. We post the recordings on the Mobility for All YouTube channel, so you can go back and look at key elements, or you can share it with people who maybe weren't able to attend. So the purpose of the Mobility and Access Coalition really is to focus on expanding transportation access. What's foundational is that we believe that transportation equals access to opportunity. It helps people maintain a good quality of life. It helps them meet their basic needs. And really, it's essential to achieving equitable outcomes for the people we serve. And we want people to have multiple modes of transportation, knowledge, and access so that they have backup options if one of their modes of transportation fails them. Next slide. So this is just a brief overview of our agenda. We're going to start with quite a few updates, and then we have 3 presentations. And then we will just kind of round out the meeting with information on the upcoming in-person luncheon that we have. So let's go ahead and get started with our updates. I'm going to turn it over to Jessica for the first update.
Yeah, thank you. So as some of you already know, we've been working with a contractor to create a Mobility Heroes campaign. This is a social media campaign to promote the drivers and transit professional careers. And we have selected 6 mobility heroes for this year. The campaign has started and it's already going on YouTube and or Instagram, Facebook, and X. So I'm going to take a moment to take over the screen and share my mine with you. Hopefully you can hear the video. So this is the kind of like the main video that's anchoring this 2025 Mobility Heroes campaign. And you can find this on our YouTube channel. And that's the link that I already shared with you. So I'm going to play it and let me know if you can't hear it.
Really? Thank you.
I am an accessory driver.
Soy bus assistant.
I am a lead mechanic at the Boulder School District shop.
I am a dispatcher.
I am a school bus driver for Boulder Valley School District. It is really one of my most favorite things in the world. Really. It's been the best job that I've ever had.
I got into this field basically by necessity. Shade tree mechanic, learned it from my father. He was a truck driver, owner operator for a decade. So every weekend was not cartoons, it's time to work on the truck and trailer.
Oh my god, who taught me how to drive? An ex-boyfriend.
I rode bulls for 1.5 years when I was younger, and I owned a horse and been on cattle drives in Wyoming and branded cows. What I learned from riding bulls is to always expect the unexpected. And working in dispatching every day is a new experience.
I was a airport shuttle driver. I was a UPS driver. I've ridden across the country on my bicycle, so always loved the open road.
My favorite part of my job is knowing that we are doing a good job for the community.
So many people rely on us because they may not be able to get around, they may not be able to drive, they may not be able to ride a bike. We are their go-to.
I probably transport about 160 to 175 kids a day. And I've never been hit by a spitball on the bus.
My passengers are a little bit of everybody. I have passengers with all types of disabilities.
I take care of all of the drivers as far as their needs: keys, tablets, toilet paper, paper towels, wipes. Well, not so much toilet paper, but that's beside the point.
My favorite part of the job is getting to meet all different people.
Greeting these kids every single day.
I enjoy the drivers. I enjoy knowing that I'm there for them.
Me encanta lidiar con los niños, corregirlos si es necesario, tenerles paciencia, confianza y que ellos se sientan seguros en cada viaje.
What am I really good at?
Ooh,
Let's see it.
Okay, I'm good at fixing things. I'm good at coaching.
I honestly think what I'm really good at is listening. Because everybody has a story to tell. Sometimes they really don't have anyone to tell it to.
I love working with my hands.
I am really good at interacting with people.
I have a lot of patience.
Hago mi trabajo cada día con esmero y dedicación y creo que ese es un buen reto para todos.
Public transportation is important to the community.
I can make sure that somebody who needs to go somewhere or needs to be able to reach a certain destination can rely on us to be able to get that done. And I feel proud to know that I am in the middle of this.
My job is the best job I've ever had.
And we have this cool drone shot from the mountains in a school bus. And I want to really thank Via Mobility Services and Boulder Valley School District for letting us use their facilities to shoot this video. I can share the link on here in a second. And also, in addition to this campaign and the videos that we're sharing on social media, along with other pictures and kind of like small glimpses into who are these mobility heroes. As you can tell, we have bus drivers, an accessible ride driver, volunteer driver, dispatcher, mechanic, so different people who work in this transportation field. And to celebrate them in person, we are hosting a fall luncheon. We have the invite here, and everybody is welcome. All MAC members are welcome. This is going to take place on Wednesday, October 15th from noon to 2 p.m. at the San Vrain Community Hub in Longmont. And we're going to celebrate the heroes that you saw and also our volunteer ambassadors of Mobility for All that also do this kind of work. There will be many surprises, a food truck, a raffle, other surprises that just excited for all of you to be there and meet the heroes in person and have some fun times together. So thank you all. We hope to see you there. And I'm going to add our handles here on social media so that you can follow us and share this campaign with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, I can't wait for y'all to see all the videos. You just really get to see a lot of the personality of the folks that are the heroes this year. And thanks, Jessica, for all your hard work getting it together. Um, could you please share the screen again, Joseph? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to provide this update on behalf of our transit team. You all have, maybe you saw that we sent out a press release and some information on our transit plan that's coming up. It's called Linking Boulder County Transit Plan. And we are in the process of we're in the process of collecting applications for people to serve on the community advisory committees. So we have 2 of them. One is in English and one is in Spanish. And there is this press release that I'll share in the chat. It outlines the duties, the responsibilities of this group. We're aiming to have about 15 people in each of those advisory committees. And we've had a lot of support or a lot of interest. The application period closes this Friday. So far we have, I believe, like 114 different people who have applied, which is absolutely amazing. However, we are really trying to be intentional with who we have represented on the committees. We want to make sure that we have a good spread of geographic representation, age, abilities, ethnic, racial makeup, gender identities. So there are some key demographic groups that we don't have as many applicants for, in particular youth. We don't have a lot of youth applicants. And additionally, maybe Spanish speakers who are older adults or Spanish speakers who have disabilities themselves. So I sent out the request to help us share the information last week, I believe, or maybe it was the week before. And then I will send out after this another reminder. We have 3 days, well, 2.5 days before it closes. And here are the email the emails, I'll put it one in English and one in Spanish that you can send out to your networks, just encouraging them to participate. And if they are not selected for the committees, then we'll still have other opportunities for them to be engaged. We're going to have a survey that will open up in the next week or so. So just keep an eye out for that and sharing that with your community, with your networks as well. The one that I shared in the chat right now, that's the English information for people to get involved. And then here is the Spanish information to help get people involved. We will be using this list of people who apply as the foundation for our distribution list for the whole planning process. And this won't be the only opportunity to get involved. Does anybody have any questions about the community advisory committees and opportunities to get involved? Okay, I just want to I know that Jessica reached out to you, Laura, and a couple of other people to have them share with your networks. And I really appreciate y'all spreading the word and just getting some interest out there for this advisory committee. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to have real impact on the transit system in Boulder County. Okay. Next slide. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Elaine for the next update. Elaine, I also added your fall lunch into this, just so you know. I don't know if you saw that.
Well, that's perfect. I was going to mention that too. Good afternoon. Just wanted to let people know we are once again offering the Go-Tober Challenge. So if you've done Bike to Work Day, you know it's like one day we celebrate biking, get people to log that. Go-Tober is a whole month, and it's fun because you don't have to bike at all if you're not into that, or you can bike every day. But it's about just experiencing other modes, other ways to travel. And it's a great way to recognize your business, to encourage colleagues to get out. Like maybe you know somebody who has an easy transit trip to work and they're not doing it. You could potentially encourage them or some of your coworkers. and just get people thinking about how we get around and how very lucky we are in this area to have so many options. So whether it's telework, taking the Lime scooters, B-cycle, or sharing the ride, or transit, all of that counts. I've got the link. I just have to go or send. There we go, in the chat. And it's free, but anybody, if the winners also get great recognition for their participation. We also do have our quarterly luncheon coming up next week. These are really great, have lots of good information for the community about projects going on, updates. This time we're going to be hearing from Boulder Recycled Aggregate, because it's really pretty incredible that we're using recycled paving materials as the construction is happening on the 119 Bikeway and BRT. So that'll be great to hear about. Brendan Schaefer from Colorado OEdit office is going to be talking about the new things going on with the Front Range Rail potential. So the way Northwest Rail and Front Range Passenger Rail are coordinating on this. And then Chris Hagelin will be presenting about the TDM ordinance. So this is going to impact new developers in the necessity to have TDM, or transportation demand management plans, basically ways to encourage the developments to, we've already said we're not building as much parking, but that doesn't get us places unless you also provide the other opportunities. So link to register in the luncheon also in the chat. And thanks for sharing, and reach out to me if you have any questions about any of it. Thanks.
Great. Aileen, I have a question about the GoTober challenge. So if your employer hasn't participated before, how difficult is it for them to sign up for the first time this year?
It's very, very easy. So by just going to the link, you put down some information and we get you set up with your very own personal network on the My Way to Go system. And what's nice there is that somebody would then immediately be, I'm working with Boulder County. I think Melissa has that link available to share with county staff, because the county is part of the challenge this year. And we are also here to back people up, but there's also a lot of materials available from DRCOG to just share with people to get those ideas. And, I love the creative things I've seen people do over the years. Some companies say either we're all going to go bike to lunch one day so that they can encourage that activity, or once you've logged X number of trips, you're getting a treat from the business. So sometimes the businesses sort of lean in on that. So, but we've definitely had some successful businesses in that area, and we'd love to see it again.
Great. Thank you so much. And just a reminder, you can reach out to Commuting Solutions as well if you want to participate, if you're outside of the city of Boulder. I know Joe's on the call here, so he would probably be able to connect you and help you sign up as well. Thank you so much, Elaine. Next slide. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Adriana to give an update about Via Mobility Services.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to let everybody know that as of September 1, Via Mobility Services is going fare free for all of our service areas. We want to make sure that we're able to provide and to lift that financial restraint of riders who can't afford transportation. 70% of our riders have an annual income of $30,000 or less. So we don't want them to choose between having to afford a trip to go grocery shopping versus going to see, medical assistance that they need. So we want to make sure that everybody gets where they need to go. We also know that with the growing population of older adults and people with disabilities, this could lead to a high demand of trips in a time where we know that some of our resources might be a little bit constrained. So with that, we want to also encourage everybody to, whenever we're doing like fundraising campaigns and anything like that, if we throw it out there, if you guys can share it, anything helps with us. We're also waiting to hear back for the Senate Bill 230. Hopefully that can also help us continue to remain fare free. And again, this is all for the community. We want to make sure that people get to where they need to go and they don't have to have any type of barriers to get what they need to get. I'll also add a link to our press release. So if you have time, please go ahead and click, read it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
Does anybody have any questions for Adriana or Via Mobility Services? I saw lots of claps, so I know that this is definitely going to be well received. People that call into Mobility for All for transportation access support. So great, thank you so much. Next slide we have is for Dr. Mack. They have their meeting next month, and I saw that Steph is on the call. Steph, would you like to add anything about your transportation options workshop that you have next month?
Yeah, just that, yeah, we have our monthly meeting next week, next month. It'll be our annual transportation options workshop. Typically at this meeting, we invite different providers throughout the metro area to come and share information about their services. Over the last year or so, Dr. Max really amped up efforts to get some new transportation providers included in our guide and in our app. So we're excited to share out some more information. But as always, with all of our meetings, everyone is welcome to attend. It'll be on October 7th from 1:30 to 3 p.m. on Zoom. So it'll be a virtual meeting, but yeah, excited to see everyone there. And I can put the link to the meeting registration in the chat.
Great, thank you, Steph. Any questions for Stephanie? Okay, great, thank you. So the next one, I don't believe that Lindsay was able to make it today, but I just wanted to point out that there's going to be the Veterans Stand Down and Resource Fair next month. We are going to link to it in the newsletter, but I'll go ahead and share the flyer here. Basically, it'll be on October 30th from 9 to 2 p.m. at the American Legion in Longmont. Here's the flyer. And really, this event is an annual event that's intended to provide a one-stop shop for veterans experiencing homelessness and their family. It's not exclusively for people experiencing homelessness, but it's just for veterans who need extra support. So I believe that there was over 60 vendors there last year, and Lindsay just does a lot of work to try to coordinate this with the American Legion and the VA. So it's really a great event, and they were able to get a grant this year to be able to provide even more support for veterans experiencing homelessness, like hygiene items and sleeping bags and a whole bunch of other stuff. So definitely join if you can. Encourage people in your community to attend if you know of any veterans who could use extra assistance. Next slide. And then also RTD wasn't able to attend this, but I wanted to just put a plug for RTD's Gabbing with Gabe and Gisa. They have a talk that's coming up on October 1st, and it will be going over the ADA complaint process. So this is going to be hosted at their headquarters off of Blake Street, and it's really just a great opportunity for people experiencing disabilities or people serving people with disabilities to really connect with the Civil Rights Office, Gabe and Gisa, to be able to learn more. It's their ongoing effort. I think this is the third one that they've hosted, and it's really just a process to demystify the Civil Rights Office, like what it's like to interact with the Civil Rights Office and build those authentic relationships with community members. So if you're able to attend on October 1st, I put the registration link in the chat. Any questions on the Gabbing with Gabe and Gisa? Okay. Wonderful. So at this point, I'll just let me know if anybody has any updates that they want to share before we get into our presentations. You can just raise your hand or put it in the chat. And we'll have another opportunity at the end of the meeting if you forgot something. So I'll just pause for a minute or so in case anybody has any updates that they want to provide to everybody else.
I had one question, Angel, about the VIA. I was wondering how long it was going to be fare free. Do we know?
Yeah, I was just replying to your thing. So we don't have an
Oh,
end date.
sorry.
Yeah, no, you're okay. That's okay. I can answer it. We don't have an end date for when that fare free will end. We just want to continue to advocate at the state and local levels and also raising, the fundraising campaigns so that we can remain fare free.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks for answering that. Okay. If there's no other updates, you can feel free to put them in the chat along the way and we can circle back around at the end of the meeting. So today we have 3 different presentations. Next slide. The first one, we are going to start with Erwin to be able to give an update or information on the TreadShare app and just how it helps people match drivers with potential riders. Erwin, would you like to share your screen?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I
Thank you
sent a
for
request.
joining us. I just allowed
Okay.
you to present. Okay, we'll turn it over to Erwin today.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Erwin, founder of TreadShare. The intent is to make carpooling easy. So why TreadShare? It just started with a passion for the mountains, for nature, and just observing what was happening in Colorado when I moved from Europe, where I was carpooling all the time over there. So of course, traffic and pollution continuously on the rise, both in the Front Range, in the mountains, a lot of traffic everywhere. Additionally, the cost of owning a car in Colorado, it's always on the rise. It's now over $11,000 a year. That's a lot. And yeah, also it was for my a personal problem I had. I didn't know anyone. So I remember in Europe, carpooling is a good way to meet other people from our communities. So yes, that's also one of the problems identified. So the idea is with those problems, like what if you could get paid for driving somewhere you're already going or reserve cheap rides to your favorite places? So now we have our app, the TreadShare app, which makes carpooling easy. Drivers and riders heading in the same direction can organize their carpools in just a few clicks with key features such as a cost-sharing agreement. So now we can all do our part to decrease traffic and carbon emissions very easily, share the cost of driving through gas money, and also meet other like-minded locals. So how does it work? So the mobile app is available for both Android and Apple. Drivers post their drives a bit in advance. They can say, I'm leaving tomorrow at this time from this location and I had 3 empty seats in my car. And then riders navigate the app and reserve their seat up front by paying gas money that is transferred to the driver after the ride. The gas money, so the passenger fee, is always calculated to be way below the IRS mileage rate, which was 70 cents per mile in this year, in 2025. So the goal here is not to make a profit. It's not a commercial activity for the driver like Uber and Lyft. And technically, Uber and Lyft add vehicles on the road. Here we're trying to remove vehicles from the road by monetizing, giving a bit of incentives on all the empty seats that are always on the road, no matter what. So the app is very user-friendly. You can post or book your ride in just a few clicks. A bit more about that cost-sharing model, that gas money. So now we are learning as we go, and we've been having different requests. This is now completely flexible and optional. So drivers can decrease the amount of gas money if they think it's a bit too much, or They can make the drive completely free if they don't want to make a bit of gas money. Or we can also shift the cost. Instead of passengers paying gas money to the drivers, it can be a third party, like a local government, an organization, a private business, if they want to incentivize specific carpooling routes. And the app takes care of all of that. We handle the financial transactions. Everything is included in the app and customizable. I don't know. And then we have a live reservation system and instant messaging. You can connect with passengers and drivers before or after making the reservation. A system of profile with reviews to increase the level of trust. You can connect your social media also if you want. And it's completely flexible. You can post or book one way, a round trip. You can add stops along the way. And you can also set up recurring trips, for example, for work commuting, people who have a recurring schedule. So we have all the data, what's happening on the app. So we also provide admin dashboards to add, remove users, follow ridership engagement, carbon emission reductions, etc. So the traction so far, we started clearly as how it was happening in Europe, like just one carpool group for everybody and every need. And we realized we had some traction with ski traffic, with the recreational travelers. And over 3 years, we had about 9,000 signups, 600 rides booked, but it was mostly ski traffic. So now we are launching a system of carpool groups on the app. And so it's new. So it's more for employers, local governments, different organizations. And Arapaho Basin and the town of Snowmass Village are our first partners, as they were looking for a solution to meet new sustainability goals while addressing traffic and parking issues. And those groups are for their employees going to work. And we've had discussions with all the other players that you see below. So if we focus on these two, A Basin and the town of Snowmass, so again, it's for their employees. We also, for the town of Snowmass, it was one of their requests. We are integrating also their van pools, because the town already has 4 van pools, but no reservation system attached. So it was a process that was all manual. So now it's integrated in their carpool group. So the group is for carpool and van pools, and employees can see exactly the routes of the van pools on top of carpooling. And to give you an idea of the cost, we are trying to be very competitive. We really want to make this work for Colorado. So we are charging about $500 per month for each, because they are medium-sized employer. You probably already know that, but there's a 50% tax credit on every carpool solution and even mobility solutions as an employer when you offer alternative to your employees. So a 50% tax credit or direct refund if you're a nonprofit or a local government from the state. That was approved until 2027 for now. And we are also receiving a $50,000 grant from CDOT to help us with those features. So we've been working on that actively, and our service is continuously evolving depending on the feedback that we receive. So for example, here is what we're working on. For example, at the county level, here is how it could look like, a group approach. So you can have a group for commuting to work. Maybe it's like small employers, instead of having their own private carpool group, it can be something for smaller employers where it doesn't make sense for them to have their own carpool group. We can have another group for students and teachers going to a designated university. Events and concerts, maybe going to Red Rocks or different stadiums. We can have a group. We've had the demand in the mountains for kids going skiing. Parents are always dragging kids everywhere. So it can be adapted for other needs. Maybe a group for persons with disabilities. We have to see where is the demand and how this could work. And also maybe some groups that can be used by non-profits, maybe for some volunteer coordination for food rescue pickups. We started having those discussions in Summit County. The other advantage with that group approach is that we can customize each group. They can either be public, open to anyone, or they can be private, password protected. We can run background checks on everyone for certain groups, and on other groups, maybe we keep it optional. Like for kids going to school or skiing or whatever, we probably want to background check all the parents. And again, the gas money is flexible. We can remove it completely, make it completely free, no gas money between passengers and drivers, or a company can decide, an organization can decide, let's incentivize that group and pay for the gas money. We are also discussing with Aspen and Vail, the towns, for parking integration. They want to incentivize visitors and locals who carpool to town. They want to offer free parking or discounts. So we are looking into integrating that. So meet the team. It's just me. I have expertise in management and finance, plus first-hand experience in transportation along the I-70 corridor as a driver, dispatcher, reservation agent. And it's also Seth, who is the CTO and developer, built the app from scratch. He's based in Denver. I'm based in Summit County, so we're local. We are very creative, persistent, and we don't take no for an answer. We even changed the legislation in Colorado in 2021. Believe it or not, but cost-sharing carpooling and even free carpooling was pretty much not allowed, except if it's going to work. But most of the other cases were not allowed. And I think for Colorado, it makes sense to tackle work commute, but there's also so much more with the outdoors and events that we can address. So thank you very much for your attention. You can send me an email if you have questions later, but I mean, if you have questions now in the chat, let me know. Or my email is erwin@tradeshare.com. If there's anything that comes up after.
Great. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Erwin right now? I just want to thank you for sharing this, and I love to see that it's growing beyond just ski purposes, and I can't wait to see some of the results with the partnerships that you're doing for employers, and just some of those success stories. It looks like Annette has a question. Annette?
Sorry, it just took me a minute to get my buttons going.
No worries.
It sounds like you're Summit County I-70 kind of focused, but has anyone approached you from Boulder County to work with this?
I-70 corridor is how we started in 2021, but now we realize our solution works for pretty much anyone. We are becoming very flexible, and each group can be customized. So yes, I would love to work with Boulder County. I know Denver uses My Way to Go and the platform Ride Amigos. So our approach is a bit different, especially with the incentive. So yeah, but always open to discuss. yeah.
Okay, thanks. I will connect you. I will talk to some of the local people here and see if they want to connect with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Annette. And
Yeah.
Annette, she's centered in Netherlands, so just a little context there. So there's transportation gaps in the mountains for sure. Does anybody else have any other questions? I guess I did have one, Erwin, and I don't know if we talked about this in the pre-call, but you said that parents are using it for taking their kids to like ski lessons and stuff like that. And you also mentioned that there's background checks for the drivers. Would you like to talk a little bit more about those safety protocols that you have in place?
Yes, so parents are not using it yet. We've been having the requests for mostly from Team Summit, where it's like 1,000 kids being, I think even more, being dragged everywhere every winter. So we've been having discussions. So that's why, yes, safety is very important. We can run background checks. We have the tool included. It's just a matter of cost. Like every background check costs us around 20-ish dollar. So by default, we don't do them automatically because we don't have the resources. But if we are partnering with a county, an organization, we can discuss that and see how this can be financed. For example, and also we can do ID check, make sure everybody is above 18, ID check. We are talking about that for the parking integration to avoid fraud. Yes, and then we have a system of reviews. I think I have a slide. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we want to do, so the profile is very important with reviews, and then we can add some filters if women wants to travel only with women. We are not that popular yet, but that's definitely something we want to do. Having that group approach also is good for safety and increase the level of trust. Like you can now go to a concert maybe with your neighbors, and since they live around you, you are more likely to drive with them because they come from the same town or something, or you are passionate about the same thing. And then the last component would be, I believe, the insurance. So this is an important point. The way carpooling works, drivers' insurance cover their passengers by default because it's not a commercial activity. That's why we are always below the IRS mileage rate. And so that's the first level of protection. And then if this is not enough, something very bad happens and the driver's insurance is not enough, then our insurance kicks in. So we have a $3 million coverage on liability and everything. But so far we haven't had to use it, and nobody nobody has any incident. So that's good. But yeah, safety will improve every time we can, for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Erwin will put his contact information in the chat, and we'll also include the follow-up in the newsletter. Just thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Next on our agenda, we are going to transition to George Gromke from CDOT's Division of Transit and Rail. He's going to give us a presentation on the Transit Connection Study, which I'm really looking forward to.
Hi there. Yeah, let me quickly share my screen. Alrighty, are you seeing the presentation?
It's loading right there. Yep, now we can see it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, thank you all for having me today. Really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here and present on the Transit Connection Study. So I'll start with some background just on CDOT DTR, and then jump into some of the study purpose, the analysis, and the process and the results pertinent to the area, and then some next steps and opportunity for discussion. So to start things out, CDOT's Division of Transit and Rail, which I'm a part of, I'm a transit planner with them. So we were created in 2009 via state legislation. We're responsible for the planning, developing, operating, integrating of transit and rail into the statewide transit network. And then we're really kind of, broken up into three groups currently in DTR. So we have our passenger rail team. So, I'm sure this group especially is well aware of the Front Range Passenger Rail and all of those efforts. They're doing that in the Mountain Rail Project and other rail planning. Our grants programs team, so pre and post award, we are the designated federal or recipient of federal funds that, we, of course, allocate out to different subrecipients across the state. And then transit planning operations. And so this is where the group that I call home. And so we do statewide transit planning and bus operations. Our bus ops group is within this division. And as well as transit planning, we also do transit project delivery. So thinking about things like the development of our mobility hubs that we have along I-25 North, as well as providing oversight in a number of different facility projects across the state that agencies are a part of. And then really setting the stage. So, one of the big things that we do here at CDOT that we're excited about, and one of my, something that I work closely with is Bustang. And so, for background, Bustang was launched in 2015. Really originally just the mainline services that at the time were, really called it our essential services. And so, it was I-25 and north, I-25 south, and then I-20 or I-70 west. And so it started off as essential services, but obviously those being the state's busiest corridors, were very commuter focused. And so that service began to expand. In 2018, we had developed a more rural-focused Bustang Outrider network. And so we currently have 8 routes throughout the state. And this is much more focused on those essential services. So, getting folks from rural communities across Colorado to, urban areas and urban centers and to destinations along the way to access, everything from community services to appointments, to, larger transportation hubs, to go beyond Colorado or to the airports. And so, that expanded our reach geographically well across Colorado. 2019, we introduced seasonal services like Snowstang, the Bustang to Estes, that also goes through Boulder County here. And we also have a couple of other ones related to Bus to Broncos and our Rams route that serves CSU. And then one of our big things that occurred was in 2022, which was the passage of SB 22-180. And this provided a pilot program for us to start the Pegasus shuttle service, which runs along I-70 from Denver to Avon. But most importantly, it gave us funding to significantly increase service on I-70 and I-25. And so we've been able to, increase the frequency of our services along those routes, double. And so it's been just an incredible feat. And as a part of this, really here's where we're at today. So obviously this doesn't account for the frequency of those service changes, but we have a network across Colorado connecting communities across our state. As a result of both, the slow increase in what Bustang has done over the last 10 years and its reach, we've been able to have, of course, a decline during the pandemic, but have been able to recover and go, above and beyond our original high and peak period of 2019, well into serving over 350,000 people, here in fiscal year 2025. And so, really setting the groundwork there. So, as we develop passenger rail, and as we've increased service for Bustang, one of the things that kind of came out of these efforts was looking at an opportunity to, really do an internal study and look at what are the, what's really out there to further connect the state. Now that we've kind of built out parts of the network, where there's still gaps at the regional and interregional level, and opportunities to improve mobility and connectivity across Colorado. And so, that's really where the Transit Connection Studies focus is. Before getting into more of that purpose, these are really the bigger documents we're working on now. And so, when we get more into the busting business plan elements, I'd love to come back to this group at some point. But, that's a much more focused approach where the Transit Connection Study is at a higher level. The busting business plan is going much more focused into our strategic goals and objectives, our operating capital needs, and really, not just what those gaps are across the state, but what is CDOT's role in supporting the further development of a statewide network through different optimizations and, a number of different projects moving forward that, we could potentially better optimize or expand service doing. But back to the Transit Connection Study. So, as I mentioned, it really is, was created to form a strategic vision for integrating statewide transit network and improving mobility and connectivity across Colorado. In doing so, we looked at stop stations, regional and interregional service gaps across the state, and opportunities to better connect Colorado's statewide transit network. I use interregional here really to describe, transit that is moving across regions of the state. We've in some ways used it exclusively to describe busting, but I think Transport's Flex Route is another good example of something that does run between regions of the state. And then our outputs is really identifying transit project types, gaps and needs that support Colorado's continued transit network integration, neutral of providers. So really at a high level, looking at Colorado holistically, where are there opportunities where, transit, especially a focus on fixed route bus, doesn't exist, and where do those gaps, remain prevalent across the state as we continue to develop not just Busting's network out, but work with our, local and regional partners across Colorado to help, fill additional gaps in the statewide network. And so the key goals is really to enhance accessibility and connectivity of the network, foster multimodal integration, and promote sustainability. So a big, goal of the governor and connected to our wildly important goals here at the state and CDOT is, supporting mode shift and reducing greenhouse gases. And so, briefly, the TCS and what it is and what it isn't, like I mentioned, a vision for statewide transit network, understanding that network and identifying gaps in the network. What it's not is, we are not providing it doesn't provide funding for specific projects or implement projects directly. So, this, because something is named doesn't mean that, it is a green light for a certain funding stream, such as, the state's 10-year plan, strategic funds. It doesn't provide a detailed operational analysis of transit agencies. And we don't use implementation readiness as a criteria for prioritization, really identifying a menu of options across the state and, prioritizing those on a set of criteria, but, understanding that the step further in our business plan and working with our partners where we can identify, next steps in filling these gaps. And then so for the process, right, inputs from a number of different data sources, but really focused on 4 core things: travel demand, community access, transit network connectivity, and unmet and equitable needs. And taking the gaps analysis and developing project types. So, looking where there are opportunities to develop newer extended corridors, where there are opportunities for certain service optimizations, such as frequency or schedule increases or changes, and then looking at stops and station as well. So, where there are stops, for instance, an example where there are stops that are co-located, where there might be a better opportunity for those to be connected to serve a transfer. And then prioritizing those based on, connectivity, accessibility, equity, and financial sustainability. And what are we trying to answer, right? Where are people trying to go? What transit options are available, and what service amenities are people trying to access? noted here, but, looking at travel demand, how people are traveling across Colorado, and, taking a lot of data, one of the big things being demand modeling work, and looking at different times of day and times of week, and analyzing that data, and being cognizant here, a good piece is, we really looked at, it was all trips over 20 miles. So, really setting the bar there for those kind of larger and, more far-reaching state connections. Community access, identifying areas of state with and without transit service. Network connectivity. So, where can there be improvements to connections between services to better connect the state? Things like, large wait times or missed connections when there's, infrequent services, and unmet and equitable needs. So, supporting access to transit dependent and disproportionately impacted. I had mentioned these earlier, but these are really the project types that we developed and looked at. So the new extended corridor, looking at interregional and regional fixed route services, and broader regional demand response zones, service optimizations, frequency change, time transfers, and schedule change. And then for stops and stations, looking at things like unlinked transfers, new markets, or activity centers. And then really at a high level, developing a summary of, this is really a summary of our project types. So across the state, looking at regionally, interregionally significant projects, and projects that are location-based, such as those transfer-based ones I had mentioned. And then bringing it to, back over to Boulder County. So what projects were identified significant to, this region and area. And so, some of these are existing projects that, were further validated, Boulder to Brighton, that Colorado 7 corridor, and the value of that in connecting those communities along that corridor, but looking at, the high regional travel demand and traffic volumes across that corridor, and key connection opportunities that exist between RTD, Boulder County, via and Bustang along I-25 North. Denver to Estes through Boulder. This is another one. We here at CDOT Bustang currently operate a seasonal service, but it doesn't align with the year-round travel demand along the corridor, and it has limits for drop-off and pickup locations. So there was, a lot of indicators, both along the corridor for traffic volumes and travel demand, that showed, kind of year-round, demand for service along this corridor. And then also, consistent interregional service to further complement existing regional routes. So things like the Lions Flyer, Flatiron Flyer, and the long distance travel needs across that corridor, and community connections along this corridor. Another big one was Sunday service from Fort Collins to Boulder. Transfort operates service Monday through Friday and on a limited schedule on Saturday. But this was a corridor that, geographically it's covered. But when you get into time of day and time of week, there was a high demand during the weekends, especially between the communities, there, US 287 and Colorado 119. And so additionally, considerations for connections to the Front Range passenger rail into the future, and services on Sunday. Other notable considerations that weren't included as project type that came up was the Longmont to I-25 Colorado 119. And one for this group too, and I think, definitely worthy of discussion is mountain connections in Boulder County. So, looking at, West Boulder County, in smaller communities, which may have not, come up with some of, the travel demand model data, but, obviously in other of our metrics, did flag. And so next steps. So, where is the TCS going from here? And so the TCS, the study findings will inform our Bustang service planning and the Bustang business plan. So using the data and findings from this to help support our next steps as we, further Bustang and look to the future. Sharing data and resources with stakeholders to inform decision-making and collaboration. This is something where, while this was more internal, we have a lot of data that can, help to inform projects done by us, but also by our partners. Sharing the results and findings internally, but also with our stakeholders to build on the work that's done as a part of a lot of ongoing planning processes across the state. So recognizing that, this is a much higher level view, but, this can help to inform or validate or support a lot of good work that's being done across Colorado in regards to, regional, statewide, and even local and county level planning. Identify ways to improve and evolve the TCS with stakeholder feedback and ideas, advances in data collection and changes to Colorado statewide network. The TCS, this is really our first take at this study. And so as we look to the future, what are ways that we can improve how we go about it? So, where it was, more internal, how can we, provide a more robust public outreach process and garner feedback? And continue to have those ideas. How can it support CDOT's other planning efforts? So like our statewide transit plan, the statewide transportation plan, and the regional transportation plans that happen within the MPOs and in the more rural areas of the state. And how can we continuously look at data and changing data to help to inform, the development of Colorado's statewide transit network. And a couple of other ones I've noted here that weren't a part of this study, but are things that, were noted and, with additional capacity or could be included in the future of the TCS. Things like regional, interregional, first and last mile connections. Recognizing that, especially in rural areas, first, last mile looks much different than in our urban areas. And so how do people actually access outrider services or rural regional services, TDM, wayfinding and coordination between transit agencies and services. There's gaps that we looked at, obviously were, temporal gaps and geographical gaps, but, there's other types of gaps such as, institutional based gaps in, understanding of a transit system and, or knowledge of how to use a transit system. So, what are ways that could be evaluated and further looked at to improve this study and, help to further connect the state. Regional on-demand transportation. A big focus of this study was on fixed route. We did include, on-demand transportation providers, but we didn't have the same level of data. And so connected to outreach and feedback, but also, what next steps exist in providing a deeper level of analysis for regional on-demand systems and where those can most appropriately be implemented to help, connect especially our most rural areas or specialized services for specific populations to our fixed route systems. And then, lastly, one of the ones that was highlighted here is stop and transfer accessibility. So where we looked at things like a co-location of stops, and used a framework of, say, it was a quarter mile of walking distance. Where are those stops still inaccessible for people who, are either in a wheelchair or have limited accessibility, to transit, where there's issues in, getting from stop to stop. So. With that, I'd like to, just hand it over to you all and have some time for some questions and discussions. And then I will also remark to you that the draft study is available online. I will put that link in the chat, and I also have it available here on the next slide.
Thank you, George. We really appreciate it. If anybody has any questions for George, please put it in the chat or raise your hand. I know we're getting short on time, but just one clarifying question. So how does this study play into the statewide transit plan? I know that you had mentioned the statewide transit plan, but could you be a little bit more explicit about how those two are connected?
Yeah, this time, so there was a piece for this. We kind of had the stars didn't align this time with in regards to when we started rolling these two pieces out, and when they both kind of kicked off. And so, in the future, one of the pieces that we're looking at is, and a big piece that came out of this is a lot of the data that we, whether it's, demographic, census tract data, census data, the demand data that we collected, NTD data that we track from agencies. These are things that we were collecting for this study, and kind of updating at the same time as the statewide transportation and transit plan. And we collaborated on that, and using those those kind of data pieces. But really the next steps and how this is connected is this is something that whereas the statewide transit and transportation plans are updated on a 5-year basis, this is something that we're currently looking at as not just being a one-off, but something that we continuously have an updated database of these different data pieces that we're tracking, not just for how the state is changing or for how transit is further connected, but how those can in the future just keep us prepared and in a position to inform those planning efforts. And then that's more the technical side. Another piece too is for the next planning cycle we're in now, of course, but how can the TCS, right, the gaps and project types identified, looking at those at a high level, and then working and coordinating very closely on the statewide transit planning process side, where we actually have a more robust outreach process and bringing these findings to those TPRs and those meetings, and garnering that feedback to help to inform their projects, and bring awareness to projects that may go beyond a regional level, but create more robust projects that are more interregional, or longer distance in nature that don't just cover one TPR. So that was a little long-winded, but that's what we're looking at. And then other places for informing different work that we're doing is for potentially for project validation. So looking at where there's gaps, and what gaps have been identified by the TCS, and tracking that for for different project development, whether that's through or different requests for for future projects, whether that's through something like our CTE program, or as I had mentioned, through the statewide planning process.
Great. Thank you so much, George. I know that we are at time for your presentation, but if there are any questions or comments, I'll forward them on to you. Elaine has some comments in the chat, so please take a look at those. Just great. It was just kudos for those ideas and encouraging them to move forward. Thanks for your time. I know that you all are really busy. I appreciate your presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, you can also send my email in the chat too. And also there is a comment box online for feedback. So if you get a chance, go on there, read the draft, and share your thoughts. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. And we'll include that link in our follow-up newsletter that we send out. Thank you. So next we're going to have an update from George Lopez, or sorry, John. I was looking at George and I saw your name. So John Lopez is going to give us a brief update on RTD Live. So I'll turn it over to you, John.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hi, thanks for having me. Let me share my screen. And I'm just going to do a quick overview of the LIVE program, how to apply, a little bit about it, and I'll put my email and everything in the chat so we can have questions. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so just a quick overview of the program. The program launched in July 2019. It's designed to make transit more affordable for individuals with a household income at or below 250% of the FPL. And on the right, we have a chart of what that looks like for household members. For example, one household member is $32.60 and 42 cents. And yeah, that just gives you an idea and a breakdown. The LIVE program also gives you a discount on Access-a-Ride fares as of March 2024. So that's only for Access-a-Ride regular access ride, not for access on demand at this time. And as part of the eligibility, you do have to be 20 years or older. Again, you have to be at or below that 250% federal poverty level. It's open to all in and out of district as well. And like I mentioned, it is valid on Access-a-Ride. It's available through Live Mobile Tickets and the Live Access-a-Ride 6-ride ticket books as well. And for those who want to apply, you don't need a citizenship or social security number. So you don't have to enter that in during the process if you don't have one. And this is what the discounts look like for the Live. So you can see on the left, we have the standard. So we have the standard $275 for 3 hours, $550 for a day pass. And with the Live, it's $1.35 for the 3-hour pass and $270 for the day pass. The best discount is the monthly. So normally that's $88. And with the Live, that's a $27 monthly bus pass. And that includes unlimited rides for bus and rail, includes travel to and from the airport. And as far as Access-a-Ride fares, normally that's going to be $450 one way and $19 for the airport. And with the Live discount, we're looking at $225 one way and $950 for the airport. And so it's pretty simple to apply. So you can either go on to the Colorado Peak site and do it all on your own, or you can contact Denver Human Services. They're the ones that will process the application, verify eligibility. If you were to submit income verification, for example, and you can apply for yourself and other household members with the same account, or as a guest at the same time. So you don't have to do them all one by one. Yeah, like I mentioned before, you don't have to put in a social security number if you don't have one, for example, but it can help with expediting the application process. You do have to upload a photo because we will ultimately issue you a card, your name and photo. You do need to have that photo uploaded. And one good thing about the Colorado Peak system and the way that you apply is if you're already enrolled in things like Medicaid, SNAP, Colorado Works, Adult Financial, that type of assistance, you're automatically approved. So you'll automatically get the approval notice when you're finished with the application process online. And then you will receive that card in the mail. And you just have to have that card with you when you are using the discount fares as your proof of eligibility with your valid fare payment. And this is what the Live card looks like. So it'll have your photo, your name. Like I mentioned, you do need to provide that photo for that reason. And the card will expire 1 year after you're approved for that. And we do recommend for new cards, since you do have to apply every year or once every year, you can renew up to 90 days before the expiration date. And for anyone who has lost the card or maybe never received it due to some sort of issue in the mail, for example, we do ask that they contact us directly here at this phone number or this email. And RTD is the ones that actually print out the cards and mail out the cards to those recipients. And this just gives a breakdown of where to buy the fare products. So they're available on the MyRide app, the MyRide card, 10-ride ticket books, like I mentioned, the Access-a-Ride Live ticket books, and those are available at King Soopers, at our sales outlets, or online. And that's going to be the same for our monthly passes. And of course, you can always pay cash on the bus, whereas before you weren't able to do that with the Live. And that is pretty much it. I'll open it up. Do we have time for questions or?
Yeah, we have about
Yes,
3
yes.
minutes
Okay.
left in the meeting. So there are a couple questions in the chat. Specifically, Sarah was wondering why the monthly discount is so much, like it's discounted so much more than the regular passes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't have an exact answer for you, Sarah, but from what I understand, that was part of the FAIR study. So that was, I usually tell people that's the best, best way that they can, if they ride often, that's the best way that they can get a good discount on RTD is that monthly pass. But I don't know exactly why that was chosen because normally it's 50% of a discount, and that's obviously more than 50%. So I might have to get back to you on that, Sarah.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. You're good.
And Sarah, do you want to ask your second question, or would you like for me to ask it?
Yeah, I can ask it. I just had one more that I was curious if like 90 days before the card expires, if we get any kind of like text or email or like reminder.
I don't believe so. No, so you
Okay.
have to be kind of on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, John.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, John. So we are working with John to do another lunch and learn. We would like to wait until we know for sure the changes that are going to happen to the Access on Demand program. And I spoke with Erin a little bit earlier this month. She will give us an update on the Access on Demand program in November at our November meeting. Just so you know, if there is an upfront cost with the recommended changes, people would be able to use their live discount to reduce that by half. At least that's the current proposal. We don't know for sure how the board's going to recommend, but in preparation for those potential changes, we want to work with John and RTD to schedule some lunch and learns and some drop-in sessions with the Center for People with Disabilities to help folks who are depending on Access on Demand sign up for RTD Live if they're not already. So thank you so much, John, for coming today and giving us a refresher on this. We really appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
Thanks. And we will include links to the Live program in the follow-up newsletter. And we're at the end of the meeting, but I just want to remind everybody to register for the Mobility Heroes Luncheon. It's going to be a fun event, a great opportunity to celebrate all the people who work behind the scenes in transportation and make transportation accessible to the people that we serve. Up on the screen, you'll see the next 3 meetings. We're going to meet on the 15th for the in-person day, and then the 19th of November will be our next meeting. We do have some really interesting presentations scheduled for that, including the City of Boulder's ADA transition plan, and then also the update on the Access on Demand program. And then in December, we'll do some strategic planning around our work plan for 2026. I just put in the chat the registration for our in-person day. Just want to say kudos again to Jessica for all the work she's doing planning this and also the Mobility Heroes campaign. Thank you all for sharing our posts on social media and spreading the word about the people who are the unsung heroes of transportation. Thank you so much, and I will see you hopefully in person on the 15th.
Yay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
you.